Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Premier Madden podcast. I'm your host, Finn, and joining me, as always, is my man, Anthony. What's up, bro?
What's going on, Finn?
All right, let's get this thing going. I'm just kidding. Rob's here, too. What's up, man? Anthony shows up late, still shits on Rob. It's all good, bro. All right, so first thing out the gate to talk about here. If you haven't already, go check out the episode that I just did with my man Bucks. We went through all of the I just slapped my mic here. We went through all of the prospects on the offensive side of the house, the top 10 prospects. Gave a little brief overview about that. So if you're interested in the upcoming draft prospects, that's the first sneak peek. He's got some insider information, so check that out. Next, we have our first suspension of the year. This is handed down by the commissioner himself. It's going to be Giovanni Bernard, the running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to be out for 1 week. So it's a minor suspension. Looks like it might have just been because of this is the second time that owner's been warned about gameplay or a certain thing. So let's talk a little bit about why. I am on the game review team now. I've been promoted. Basically going for JT's job as soon as I figure out how to do all the fancy forms and shit like that. But what we got right now is he's being suspended for overuse of shotgun inside zone, which he did not. He ran the ball, I want to say, roughly 10 times before he ran a different kind of run than shotgun inside zone. He didn't run a different run play until 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. We felt that was a little egregious. I don't think it's a cheese play, so it's not, and that's why you didn't see like a cheese kind of punishment get laid down, but it was more so you got to mix it up. So that's the example that needs to be set. As the game got to situations where he had to kind of run the clock down, he was trying to hold his big lead. That's when we saw some of the shotgun stretch and zone weak, but it's a little bit too late in the game to start changing it up, in my opinion. And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts, right? One of the things that I see about circumventing rules, not specific to Bengals here, but more so the pass-run ratio. You'll see guys just come out, pass out the gate, get a ton of or a big lead, ton of yards, whatever, and then run later, and then it evens itself out. What are your thoughts there? Is it at the end of the game, whatever the case may be, as long as it's even then, or are you guys more so like it's got to be balanced throughout?
You lead off with this one, Rob.
Well, I mean, most of the time it probably won't be 50-50, but if like even like a 70-30 is a little much. But if you can get in between like there, that's acceptable. But when most of your runs are coming late in the game, and that's because people are aware that nobody is oblivious to the rules. Like people know what they're doing. So yeah, it's like you should definitely be running late in the game. It's not to say that you should be passing late in the game. It's to say that you need to mix up early, and you shouldn't put yourself in a bad situation running on third down because I ran a pass the last 3 plays, whatever. But you should.
Yeah, I'm not against certain things. I'm not against you going right back to a play. There's some people are not even happy with that, where I call a play, didn't work, I go right back to it. I mean, you're not expecting it, right? Everybody's always expecting a fresh new play. So I get it to an extent, but in this situation, I felt like it's a little much. And then the rest of the game review board did it well. Another thing that he was accused of, outside of just being dense, I know Anthony hasn't been in the chat. It was a little lit today, my man.
Oh no, I was keeping up. You know what I wanted to say today? The league was actually born today. This is the first day it's become a true CFM, because it's not a true Madden CFM if everybody's getting along. It's been a little too buddy in there for me, honestly. I'm glad that somebody else was able to start some drama and get a little bit pissed off by somebody else's gameplay other than myself, because I think I was the first one to sort of complain about it early on. And so, yeah, I thought today was the true birth of the Premier Madden League.
I agree with you. They wanted to hand out some warnings or maybe a suspension to both guys, that being Natural and the Bengals King Mike, I think he goes by, just because of the nature of the beast. And I was just like, guys, like, you got to let that happen. I know we got to, like, I know some of the guys in the chat took things personally, but nobody was out here calling out, dropping addresses or saying, calling each other bitch boys and stuff. I mean, I called Rob a bitch boy.
That's what Finn does. Finn drops addresses. He swats you.
Right.
You be playing Madden, you better watch your back.
I didn't even think I've dropped my address in a chat before, and I better watch out for I do get swatted.
He said, I dare you to come.
I got a little one. No,
Yeah.
I'm just so. But anyways, yeah, I think you're right, Anthony. You got to let the league flourish. You got to let us argue a little bit. You got to let people get salty, and fill each other out. Because right now, everybody, I think they read each other wrong. I think a lot of people read natural wrong. I think a lot of people. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I think you're absolutely right when you say, once the salt comes, the league's born. So another thing that he was accused of was this nano blitz, this 4-6 normal fire zone 3 blitz. Now, I will admit the first time he ran it, it did look like a nano. I mean, he had a man up that wasn't involved in the blitz at all, manually pulled up into the line of scrimmage, and it was one of the quickest sacks I've ever seen. It had everything about those old school nanos where they just get a free blitzer around the edge right in your face. It was real quick. He ran that blitz 8 times throughout the game. It only worked twice in terms of pressure and blitzes or sacks. Only 2 of those 8 times did he have a person manually on the line of scrimmage. The second time he did it, once again, it resulted in a sack. So both times he pulled somebody up where it's kind of confused as a nano or people could see it as a nano. They did result in sacks, but I think the second time it was just the backside left tackle getting beat one-on-one. It wasn't like the nano came through or anything like that. So we looked at it. We looked at the other times he ran it where there wasn't any kind of adjustment. I'll be honest with you, he didn't really make that many adjustments at all throughout the entire game. He didn't have the movement. You know, like you ever play somebody and watch their stream, and as soon as the offense breaks a huddle, it just looks like their screen's having a seizure because it's just in and out as they're making adjustments.
You hear one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you talking about on offense or defense or both?
Defense mainly. Yeah. Right. Defense mainly. You're just seeing so many adjustments because it has to be done quickly. Whereas on offense, obviously, you're a little limited. It stops you from making too many adjustments at one time. That's usually what's indicative of a guy who knows nanos, who sets up his defense, runs YouTube defenses. So while the first one worked, and while me and Rob were talking about earlier, I do agree that maybe we shouldn't be bringing up coverage guys up into the A gaps and the B gaps because of the nature. Like, I don't know if it's a Madden glitch or if that's just working the line. You know, if there was proof to me that the line recognizes the things and that you can counter it by sliding right or IDing one of the blitzers and that it would 100% not fall for this person right in front of them, then I would be okay with that. But as far as I'm concerned now, I think we could do without it. But we determined it not to be a nano. Now, running the same blitz 8 times in a game, that's a different question. I will say he mixed it up quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, I charted out every single play. I'm going to have to drop it in the chat for you guys. Every single defensive play, it looks like gibberish. But every single defensive play he ran, I got it. So he mixed it up for sure. That wasn't even the most run play that he ran. Cover 2 sink was the most run play that he ran. So he definitely mixed it up quite a bit, in my opinion. Threw a lot of blitzes at Lamar. And as much as I love the natural, I do think there was just a little bit of salt factor on his end in terms of how he interpreted the defensive side of the game. Doesn't make him a bad person or a liar. It's just, you know, obviously he was in it, so it's a lot different perspective. Any thoughts there? Do you think the ban hammer should have come on higher after what happened, or are we okay with a 1-game suspension to Gio and then the low sim score? I think we decided to give him a sim score of like a 4 or 5, and that'll obviously affect the average from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I'm never a big fan of, you know, making too many rules or doing all this stuff. Like, I hate it when I play a guy and I already know that they're going to be blitzing me like a corner blitz, that they've done exactly what you're talking about, warped the play to where it's no longer even recognizable from the play call screen anymore. Mm-hmm. I hate playing that because there's so many ways that people have figured out how to take advantage of the things. And I kind of pride myself on being a like 1 to 2 adjustments max type of thing each play. Like, I don't think you should really be making more than 1 or 2 hot routes or more than 1 or 2 defensive adjustments to sort of change the play to match whatever the offense is running or whatever the defense, whatever vulnerabilities you see in the defense pre-snap. But there are those people, and it frustrates me, but I don't like to – I feel like they do those things and they'll work some games and then they won't work others, just like anything else in the game. So it's like if you're doing that, like, you're going to get taken advantage of sometimes. Like, I'm going to figure that out, and then I'm going to call, you know, plays to get the ball out really quickly. I'm just going to know hey, I need to hike this ball, or I need to pass this ball as soon as I hike it, because this guy's going to be overloading the blitz on a different side every single time we come out. So I think that it gives you a different sort of football adjustment to make, and I kind of like that part of the game. Like I said, it is frustrating because sometimes it's gone too far or for too long before you can actually make the adjustments to come back or so. Say you've been sack fumbled 3 times on the first 3 drives because of this, and there's no way you can anticipate those fumbles. And now all of a sudden it's a completely different game, and you don't stand a chance in coming back. I don't know. Every game is different, and if you're going to do something like that, then I think that everybody should feel free to give you a hard time if you can't win straight up, and allow your sort of game plan to be known in the league. Like, let everybody know, like, oh, hey, watch out for this guy. Like, he's going to run the shotgun draw with Gino like 8 times a drive. Like, and so if you know those things going in, you can prepare for them. And I think it gives you an advantage that way too.
Right. It's going to put an emphasis on people actually watching the games. You're going to see guys that are a little bit more active and watching these highlights and catching on to things kind of flourish a little bit versus just expecting to show up and play and having to adjust on the fly. It was a good game. Baltimore ended up coming back from a pretty big second half deficit, but messed up in overtime. So that was the other thing too, is the chew clock factor for the Bengals. He didn't know he had chew clock on for the entire overtime. So when the Ravens got the ball back to respond after the field goal, they only had about 2 minutes left. And he thought that since technically he didn't get a full drive to respond, that once overtime ended, that it would just restart up and he'd get a chance to finish a drive. Well, that's not an NFL rule. So the Ravens end up taking a quick inside run to Alex Collins, and that ended the game, make it 29-26. So I like the rivalry brewing up there in the AFC North, but the rest of the AFC North belongs to the LA Rams. So we got a new user. His name's Quentin.
The rest of the AFC North.
They're owned by the Rams. All right. In the last 2 weeks, he beats Pittsburgh 33-7.
Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying.
Nah, picking up and putting down. And he beat up on the Browns 38-17. I played Quentin in the pickup game.
That was a sim one, I'm pretty sure. Because we were talking about it in chat how the Browns was like, I have to play this dude even though he just got his team. He was like, I can't play tonight. I'm pretty sure that was a sim one. But either way,
I believe it shows as being played once. Nope, you're right. It was a sim win. Either way, he goes in and he beats the Steelers. So good to have Quentin here. Hope you listen to the podcast. Got a couple new users. We finally got some Viking and some Bears users. Did you end up playing a new Broncos user?
Me? No.
Okay.
I didn't realize he was coming in, and then I played the CPU game before he came in. Got you.
Let's talk a little bit about the biggest game, I think, from the week was Anthony's game against the Green Bay Packers. All right, it's 35-23 matchup. How deep did the Packers go in the playoffs last year? Pretty deep?
I think conference. I think he lost to the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think so. So, big day by Zeke Elliott, 140 yards. Better day from the run defense as you only allowed 22 from running back Jay Ajayi. What was the story of the game there?
I mean, I wish I would have hyped it up a little bit more in the chat. I'll be honest, I was a little nervous because one of my biggest weaknesses is when I face a good user on D. I don't want to say I crumble under the pressure, but sometimes I think maybe I get a little arrogant and I think I can pass it over that guy, or he's not going to be able to make this play on this ball, and I'll test him a little too much, and that might be what happened against him. But it came out pretty hot. I think I scored on my first drive and just kind of went from there and played good run D, and threw a couple of picks, but offense was rolling well enough that it didn't really matter.
It's good to see tight end Kelvin Benjamin doubles as a left tackle. He goes 4 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. One of the more interesting players in the league with the position change. We were actually just talking about position changes on the college positional podcast because Jalen Hurts, Alabama quarterback, is coming out, and I was wondering if he could be somebody who adjusts. Another big game was probably the first game that I've been tested since I got in the league, and I don't want to pay too much time on it because they were clowning me saying that I was going to hold the podcast just to talk about it. I will say this. One of the big things I've been hyping on when we've been doing these shows so far has been Deshaun Watson and Marcus Mariota's passing efficiency. And damn, they are efficient is what I have to say. King Jackson, the Texans user, I think he's real smart. He does a good job at utilizing the tight end. He's got a big, tall tight end, and he knows when to throw with L1, and he's real smart about it. So we definitely had a battle down there. I did feel like a couple fumbles and a couple big whiffs by Eric Berry really let him back into this game. Not just did you watch the highlights at all, Anthony?
Which Texans? I don't think so.
Texans Chiefs. My man. It was a game. It was a game.
It's good. He I only lost a few games last year, and he was one of the ones that it was just a back and forth with him, man. Like
right.
Like you said, I felt like he was an intelligent user.
Right.
For sure.
He was solid on defense. One of the big things I think the real, I mean, as much as Tyreek Hill won me that game, and Tyreek Hill won me that game.
I'm sure you'll be saying that after a lot of games, you cheeser.
Wait till you see the highlights, buddy. I'll send it to you right after this. They're filthy. But anyways, one of the big things is I was able to hold him to 4 field goals on all of his scoring possessions of the first half. That was huge. I think that, I mean, I was only able to put up 16 in the first half, and just being able to, I mean, any of those things become touchdowns, and now it's a whole different ball game. I'm really throwing from behind, and I think he's too smart a defensive player. He's got really good players back there, and just a pass rush that once they get the pin the ears back, it's a nightmare. So those were some of the big matchups of the week there. The Lions CPU beat up on the new Bears users 34-5. I think that looks like some scoregami. I don't ever seen 34-5 before. And my Super Bowl favorite is undefeated so far. So he actually has Seahawks, but that might be a sim win. Has fallen. Has been a little busy. So that kind of creates a little bit, I guess, more anticipation for the next time they build up. This was going to be the truth or, this was going to be the moment to find out if he really was a favorite, but now we have to hold. Let's talk a little bit about some of these next week matchups before we get into the stat recap so far. So Texans, Buccaneers, that's going to be a good game. Mike Evans just came off a crazy week, ended up getting his own game-winning reception. It was wild, dude. Like my Tyreek Hill one was crazy, and I just gave away that I won on the last play. But the Mike Evans one, if you haven't seen it, look for the highlight reels. Double coverage, just, man, bails his team out. Let's see who else we got there. You're going to play a new Vikings user, so that's going to be fun. Heading up to Minnesota, get to test the waters. And the downside is like you're not just playing a good user. You're not just playing a user now that you've never played against. You got to deal with that Minnesota defense.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. The Cardinals are going to be heading to San Francisco to take on my boy Super Bowl favorite. Got another AFC North matchup, and these guys, the Browns and the Ravens, were kind of going at it over, I would say, a misunderstanding, but there's definitely some heat to this game. So there was a couple close ones last season, and then the one I'm most happy about is going to be Rams. Quentin, he's going to be taking on the Seahawks. So if Seahawks is back playing his games now, that'll kind of tell us a little bit about the state of that division. Because if Quentin can come in and beat the defending Super Bowl champions, and then my boy coming in as a Super Bowl favorite, in my opinion, for the NFC, that might be the best division in the league at this point.
Tell him to watch out for that underneath cheese.
I told him about the hitch route with the playmaker.
Like with Seahawks?
Yeah.
No, I just had he was the one that he was actually the very last Madden video I made where I realized that making these after losses just was not going to be fun. And I was like counting the underneath, like the crossing routes that he audibled into. Like there was at least 2 crossing routes on every single play.
Really? Yeah, the double
drags.
Downfield
like 3 times, I think.
Right, the double drags, man, it'll really get you. So let's look a little bit over the stat leaders so far. We'll get into the player of the week, and then we'll get up out of here. Cool?
Cool.
All right. Lamar Jackson tops off the touchdown count at 9 with just 5 interceptions. Yards leader is going to be Carson Wentz after a 591-yard performance against the CPU.
What?
More to hear about Carson Wentz controversy He goes.
He got that new receiver too, that 98 speed.
98 speed receiver. 2 guys go for 200 yards against the CPU. The 4th time that he plays it. So a little blast there. Deshaun Watson, even after taking on the mighty Kansas City Chief defense, continues to show efficiency with 6 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 2 that he threw to me. So we knocked him down a little bit, but there's that. Josh Allen, very similar, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. I don't know who the most efficient quarterback is. Passing, looks like Russell Wilson. Sam Darnold's up there. Jimmy Garoppolo, no surprise there. Super Bowl favorite. All right, let's get on to the rushing leaders. So right now, it looks like Zeke Elliott, after the big performance, he's got 437 yards. Are you going to sustain it? Is that your thing?
Huh?
I said, Zeke, is he going to be able to sustain it? Are you going for the rushing title?
Not at all. For some reason, I always start the season off hot with the running game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I always blame it on Madden. It's probably just I get lazy with it. But they just he hits a wall. He'll have a big run at the end of a game, but that's why I don't get frustrated. I let Rob take the lead on the whole setting up the run with the pass thing, because that's sometimes how you have to play. If you come out and you're losing a yard or getting 1 to 2 yard runs each play, if you keep doing that, you're asking to lose. You got to switch it up. Madden's not allowing you to run the ball on this guy, so I'm going to then just switch it up and I'm going to try to pass and try to grind out the clock with the running game at the end.
Right. Early favorite for best running back, though, for the AFC side goes to Derrick Henry. He's already got 8 touchdowns in 3 weeks.
Wow. So, hey, Ben, how many touchdowns does Josh Allen have rushing?
He's got 4.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got 4.
Thank God for QB sneaks.
So there goes that.
Somebody's trying to abuse the best quarterback grading system.
Well, the thing is, actually, the amount of time they've been on the 1 yard line and I can't get in with my running back is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I agree.
So, and I upgraded that my rookie running back to a 96 trucking just for this, and I figured out pretty early that it doesn't matter. So,
well, I mean, Josh Allen's probably a great option for a QB sneak. So.
Yep.
Big, tall guy. So leading the NFL after a 200-yard plus receiving game against the Ravens is the veteran A.J. Green, Georgia Bulldog. He's one of 4 receivers in the NFL that are averaging 100 yards per game, but one of them is a halfback. That'd be David Johnson. But while I normally call out Cheese, David Johnson is the penultimate receiving running back. So
yeah,
and it's early, right? That'll even itself out. Once again, you talked a little bit about playing slow. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just let me dish this one down to DJ, let him work. Only one of those 4 receivers has only got 8 receptions on the year. That's Terry McLaurin, that being the 98 speed aforementioned Eagles wide receiver from Ohio State in his rookie season. And then leading in touchdowns is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You had to deal with him, but he's got 5, and right behind him is tight end Kelvin Benjamin with 4, and the Rams' Robert Woods with 4. David Sills looks to be one of the more promising rookie guys, as he's got himself 3 touchdowns, averaging about 40 yards a game. So for a top 10 pick, he needs to kind of, I think, pick his production up a little bit. Let's look at defense here. Let's see who's leading our sacks so far on the year. Oh, that's D-Law himself with 5. And he's tied with the Saints' Alex Okafor with 5.
I think he had 3 or 4 against the Packers. That was probably the biggest thing, is that my defensive line was playing really well against him. Well, I think he was just holding the ball too long.
Right. You mentioned him earlier, but his user, Oren Burks, has got 9 interceptions through 3 games.
Yeah, I donated a few.
That's some Edmund stats right there.
Dude, he's got those natural instincts, man. He really shocked me. I knew that I was going into the game against a good user, but I was impressed with just sort of how everywhere he was. He's one of those guys that if you kind of need to call a bunch of high routes against him, or you need to call unique plays, if you call those if you call a PA shot on him, he's gonna shut down 2 guys at once.
No, I played him last year, and it was the same thing. I would be looking damn, he's all over the place. I throw to a flat, and the dude comes diving out of nowhere. I was like, holy crap, that's it. That's his user.
Right. Jimmy Smith, the converted cornerback to safety, he's got 7 And then everybody else kind of falls in line at 3 behind them. So interesting here. Let's see.
I think Jimmy Smith had like 5 or 6 in one game.
Really?
Yeah,
balling out
against that new user when he subbed in for that Broncos game.
Oh, okay.
And then left for the Rams.
Got you. That's really good. Let's go here to the player of the week for week 2. Zeke Elliott, after his big 199-yard rushing performance. I think that was against the CPU, though.
Yeah, that was.
That was when you played the CPU. Oren Burks, he had 4 interceptions the week before he played you. Lamar Jackson, 276 yards for 5 touchdowns. And then, of course, Jimmy Six, who had 6 interceptions against the Rams. So 6 interceptions for the young god. So that'll do that. I mean, we got some big matchups going on here in week 4. It's kind of a week 2, week 3 matchup or recap here. Has anybody changed their favorites yet? I can't remember who. I think you said I was the favorite, Anthony, and then you said the Ravens. Does the loss mean anything to you, to Rob, or do you have faith in the natural?
Well, coming from what he said today with the talk, I think next time he plays Bengals, it might be a cheese fest. So I think when he wants to turn on the cheese, it's going to come on, and I don't think it's going to be fun. So we're going to –
I think that's just when he's the one that always says it too. Anybody can be beaten. When you play a guy a couple times a year, you're going to figure out how to slow down what they're doing. And Bengals is a pretty dedicated player. It doesn't surprise me that it surprises me that he beat him this early, but it would not have surprised me if that he was eventually going to start beating him.
Right.
That Bengals team is pretty decent.
Yeah, he definitely was. I knew he definitely wasn't going to go undefeated for 2 straight seasons. It just wasn't going to happen. Eventually, he's going to lose, whether it's because his fault or something like this overtime thing. Where, the only thing that I don't like about it is because both of his losses, I don't want to say they're fluky, but they have a caveat to them. You know what I mean? They both have question marks. He was talking about all year how miraculously if he lost in the Super Bowl for season 2. And then this overtime thing where he didn't know the rule. I don't like it, but it is what it is. I mean, there are 2 losses.
I think if he was blowing the game, he wouldn't have come back to try and make it an overtime game. I mean, then again, you never know. But
yeah, I don't know. Because I saw the same thing because he did the same thing the week before with the Photoshop. How he was like, oh, yeah, guys, I lost. He could have been messing with us all year, been like –
Well, no, that was probably for his thumbnable. For the video. So
yeah.
Watch. Oh, he lost, and then.
But yeah, even if he really lost now, you can there's no way for us to know really, because you can't take at face value saying oh yeah he lost,
right.
Because it's just whatsoever.
So interesting. I still think gotta watch for them Niners, man. Watch for them Niners. They're gonna sneak up on you, and they're gonna win the NFC. Anything else you guys got? I mean, I think we covered everything. The matchups last week, the controversy. All right,
quit being fuck Rob, pretty much. That's all I got.
Quit being cheesers, you fucks.
Yeah.
All right, quit being fucking cheesers. All right, quit taking everything so damn sensitive.
You're also dense.
Stop taking these.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna correct you on that, but
it's all right.
It was a good point. Your point was made.
Yeah. Quit being a little bitch boys. All right. God damn. All right, guys. We'll catch us next week. Once again, make sure you check out the positional podcasts that are coming out by Bucks. If you don't know what the fuck we're talking about because you stumbled across a random-ass Madden podcast, we do talk about just Madden in general sometimes. But right now we're on our league. If you do have an interest in playing in the league, go to join.premiermadden.com. We're a PlayStation league expanding out to PCs, Xboxes, Nintendo Switches, and TI-84 calculators. So let us know. Reserve your spot. Fill out the fucking welcome employee handbook packet that JT's got drawn up. And one day you'll get invited. All right, that's all we got, guys. Catch you next time.